The first one is a little bit more preachy, which is kind of funny because this third one is literally about a church.
Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me, the gentleman who likes to pretend like he knows the naughty and nice list, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm very familiar with who's on the naughty list more than I am the nice list, but I am probably in like the top like 5% nice list knowers as well. So yeah, it's just a hobby. I just keep up with it. You have to build up to knowing the right people, the right elves, that are gonna get you that list. So yeah.
I mean, it's a bold pickup line when you hit the bars this time of season, but it's only seasonal, so it doesn't really work for you like outside of this time frame. So, I mean, good luck
Yeah,
to you on that.
it's supposed to be like 80 degrees here on Christmas. Um, it just makes no sense. Like I know a lot of people who live around here with me in Texas, and they're like, yeah, it's Texas. It's gonna be warm. That's what you want. And I'm like, no, I don't really want it to be quite that boiling hot. So yeah,
If you have to turn on your AC during Christmas and you're in the northern hemisphere, there's a problem. Yes, for sure.
yeah,
All right.
it's a pain.
So long as I don't have to shovel, I don't care. I mean, white Christmases are nice and all, but I'd rather not shovel. Uh,
Yeah, I guess I don't have to deal with that. So not really a
okay.
problem for me.
Uh, well, all right. We've been pretty busy lately, so let's just get right to it. Hey Nick, what games have you been playing?
Yeah, so I've been playing quite a few things since the last time we actually had a chance to discuss some of this stuff. All right, so I guess first up, I tried a little game called Ball Pit, spelled Ball X Pit. So I don't know if you actually pronounce the X, and we'll probably never know the true answer to that. But I heard about this game. Um, it was making a lot of noise on Metacritic with getting a lot of good reviews and stuff. And I kind of looked at it. I was like, this game doesn't look like it's you know anything super special. But I went ahead and decided to try it because it is a pretty low cost entry. It's a $15 game, brand new right now, and the game is basically like those old brick breaker games. And the name of the famous one, oh,
Breakout.
Breakout. But there's another one with like little dinosaurs that's like got a different name. I could have sworn, but yeah, but Breakout. So it it's kind of like that on a very basic level. That's probably the best way to describe it. But in a more advanced way, so you are heading down a basically like a infinite running track.
Are you
Um,
thinking of Bust a Move from like the
I'm
Bubble
thinking of
Bobble guy?
yeah, I'm thinking of Bust a Move. Yeah, yeah. For
Okay,
some
I'm sorry. That was gonna bother me for the rest of the time. Sorry to interrupt you, but all right, go.
no, yeah, Bust a Move. Which I feel like that has come up on this podcast before. At least the forgetting the name part, and especially the actual game itself. But anyway, so it's like Bust a Move, and I guess really you are somewhat stationary. It doesn't really matter. The point is that you're a character on a track, and there is an army of bricks essentially coming down your way, and they're basically like these statued enemies, and you automatically shoot bricks, so you can't really, at least in the characters I played, you can't hold certain bricks or whatever. So you automatically shoot bricks and or shoot balls at the bricks. If you get too close to a brick, then the little guy on it can make an attack on you. Um, and so you can't get too close to them, and then they're making their way toward you. So if they hit the bottom of the screen, which you're on the lower part of the screen. If they make it past you, essentially at the bottom of the screen, then they can attack you, basically wherever you are on the screen. So you can move around quite a bit, and you can create kind of lanes so you can do different things. You get small balls that have a certain amount of power. You get larger special balls that have different powers that get assigned to you or that you can earn, basically. So as you score points, you level up, uh, and then they give you every time you level, which is really often, you get a little upgrade on one of your special balls or on one of your small or on your small balls in general. So, um, so yeah, so like it goes that way for a while, and on each level you have bosses, kind of like a mini, like two mini bosses and then a major boss. And once you beat that major boss, you've technically beaten the level, and I think usually that's when they will open up the next level to you. I only made it through. I think I've made it through four, to the fourth level so far, and there are different characters that you can play that have different powers and different things. So yeah, it's overall it's a pretty good game, very much a pick up and play game, very much a session game. You can just kind of like it's like, okay, I've got 15 minutes before I have to go. All right, I can play this, and you can play a run. Yeah, so and that and then so there's like the whole like the ball to wall sort of section. Um, and then once you're finished with a level, either by dying or beating it or whatever, it kicks you back out to the main menu, which is a village that you are building. So you get to earn sections of the village, and you can like you earn forests or farms or buildings. The buildings are different; they do different things, or at least allow you to have different things. And then it's another ball kind of game where instead of balls, you have the people that you have earned through playing the game, and you just like you have a arrow pointing, and you just shoot them, and they like bounce around inside of your valley town essentially, and the where they bounce off of, they can harvest the grain, chop the wood, or harvest stone, or build a building if you have a building in process. So it's this other kind of little mini game that tacks on to it. So they've kind of gamified the upgrade system in a little bit of a different way. So yeah, it's a pretty good little game, and I highly recommend it if it's on sale. For $15, I think it's actually pretty good value. I've only put in, I think, 10 or so hours into it, maybe less. But yeah, it's definitely a very good game overall. Um, Besides that, I played Blueprints. I played about 17 hours of Blueprints. Not going to talk about it too much because Joe, you mentioned it on a previous cast. Um, and so basically, this game, it's a puzzle game where you have to try to get into this one special room in this big mansion, and the you can go through. So you have to do that by going through the mansion. It's a roguelike, so every day you get a new set of blueprints or of rooms, and then you lay those out, and you get stuck, but you learn a little bit. You uncover this or that. You get this secret or that secret. You make a permanent unlock here or there, and then you get further and further. So I can't remember how much of Blueprints you played, Joe.
I'm trying to remember, like maybe a dozen hours at best. Just got sidetracked by other games having to play at the time, and also it was it was one that I was surprised that you actually ended up picking up because it's not your style of game.
That's right.
So in the scope of this, it kind of um it's just like I like these kind of puzzle games. I like the fact that it really, messes with perspective. It kind of in similar style gameplay, it reminds me of something like same but different from like The Witness or something like that. It's just it plays with that kind of genre, and I do like it. It's one of those games that like it racks your brain a little bit. Sometimes you or when you it's like when I think come back to it, I'm like, oh yeah, totally, I get this now. Uh, It's it was free on PlayStation Plus for extras or higher tier, and that's the main reason why I gave it a shot originally because I did hear some good things about it. Uh, but yeah, this was I think before a lot of other things got wound up, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and uh, play a little bit of this. I'm like, really? Okay, cool. So I was actually more surprised and more interested in your takeaway from it.
Yeah, I wanted to give it a try because it was so. It's a kind of came out of nowhere and it has such a high Metacritic score. Because when I saw it initially on PlayStation Plus, I'd be like, okay, I guess that's just a throwaway game. Because I hadn't really heard about it and I looked at it a little bit, didn't grab me immediately. But hearing so much about it from you and others, I was like, I got to try it before the end of the year. I haven't made any promises to finish it. Um, and like where I'm at with it, so I guess on the overall, it is a really good game. It is a pretty addictive game. I played a lot more of it a lot faster than I thought that I would. Um,
Um,
the puzzles themselves are pretty cool. The way that it fits everything together is pretty great. It definitely has you kind of asking for more pretty constantly. Um, where I'm at with it though is I have broken through and I'm in sort of the final phase of the game as far as I can tell. Um, I have, at least I'm about to meet um, the objective that the game sets out for you at the beginning, and that is to find the final room. The problem that I have with the game right now is that I know what to do and I know how to do it, but I have to wait for the right run in order to do it. There's like even like maybe two or three ways that I could do this that might work, but um yeah, so it's at a point in the game that I am finding to be kind of tedious where I'm like, okay, I got to do this run, and I may or may not get anything, but there's definitely some secrets I could look up, but I don't really want to. I'm not really worried about secrets. I'm worried about beating this game, and I'm kind of just being held out from it because I'm waiting for the game to give me the proper run. So um, that part I don't really care for. I have a suspicion though that the game recognizes where you are in it and then feeds you what you want or what you need in order to complete it. Maybe not, like exactly when you need it, but at a higher rate. It's like normally you would never get this run, or you would have like a 1% chance to get this run. But now that you're at the end of the game, you've done these other things, you now have like a 30% chance to get the run or something like that. I don't know that to be sure, or I don't know that for sure, but that is sort of how that's sort of something I wonder at because there's certain times in the game where I've gotten things maybe a little bit faster than I thought I would, and other times in the game where I'm like I'm sure this game is just completely blocking me from doing what I need to do next. Probably my imagination, but it's a fun conspiracy theory. But yeah,
The game has a wild completion rate, like, for times, because a lot of people can get from anywhere from I've seen as early as, I wanna say 15 hours up to, like, if you're trying to do a lot of, full runs, you're like 40 hours or some garbage like that. And I'm like, I am probably one of those people that would take forever just because I like to explore every nook and cranny and try to, like, to do everything else. The also being roguelike it's the RNG factor. Like that's the only turn off for me. In a certain to a certain extent, it was just because uh, I would rather have me just go like room by room and just like figure the puzzles and move on. But it does it well enough that makes you like it does still make you want to come back and like, okay, I'll do this again. I'm gonna go ahead and stick this out. I want to see, so it's an enjoyable game. I've liked what I played with it so far. It's one of those things that I want to get back to it. And I want to finish it. I know for sure that I'm not gonna platinum it. Like I'm not that. I just don't have that kind of time for it.
Oh,
But I
right.
really do want to finish the story.
Yeah, because the 100% completionist times are like over 100 hours, because what Google AI said about it is that the reason why it's so wildly different is because it is a roguelike. So you're gonna get a run where you have like a bunch of stuff, and then it's gonna be a long time before you get that run again. But the I don't know. I feel like, yeah, like Joe, the mainlining the story, I feel like with your playstyle, you're gonna be a lot slower at. But for 100% completion, or even like main plus sides, I feel like you would get a lot more, a lot faster than most people, just because you are so thorough and you are good at puzzle games. And there's a lot of logic sort of stuff in this game that I feel like you're pretty good at. So it's like, yeah, you'd probably be slower on like just getting to the credits, but as far as like getting further, because there's a lot of things where I'm like, okay, I don't care about that. I just can't hold that in my head right now. I just want to get this one thing, and so like I'll kind of just do each run kind of with that in mind, and then end up kind of looking back and being like, oh, well, I could have done this, this, and this in 2 or 3 runs ago, or 10 runs ago, if I had been like been a little bit more methodical about it. The game does suggest that you have a pen and paper and write things down. I think that's advisable. I think that the thing that's been the most useful for me toward the middle and later parts of my playthrough is taking photos. So I'm playing this on PlayStation Plus. It was a PlayStation Plus game, and for that, it is amazing value. Actually, it's crazy that whoever was picking out games for this one did a really good job of choosing this. But playing it on PlayStation, just taking snapshots, taking pictures of things, being pretty judicious about it. I don't want to take too many pictures of every little thing, but anything where it's like, this is definitely a puzzle and I need to kind of see the configuration or have the configuration at hand. Um, the game gives you books at certain times that you can't take with you, and I was like, F this. I'm just going to take a picture of every page, because the books aren't like very long. They're like max like 10 or 15 pages. So being able to refer back to that anytime that I wanted was has been very useful overall. But yeah, it's a really good game. And even if you're not a huge puzzle fan, like puzzle game fan, I think that it's worth a look, because it's probably going to surprise you.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention that it's currently on, as of this recording, it's on sale on Steam for $20 or $19.79 till January 5th with the Steam sale going on. Also, the previous game we mentioned, Ball Pit, on Steam on sale, 20% off. So it's 11.99 USD, of course.
Yes.
So both those games are on sale. Decent value for fun times. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, very worth it. And then one more game that I have been playing. I think I am 15 hours into this one. Kingdom Come Deliverance II. So this is a game that came out back in February of this year, and um, I thought it might be a good game. The first review that I saw for it back then was from Video Games Chronicle, and they gave it 5 stars. That tells me a lot about the people at Video Games Chronicle. Uh, that's that's really all that I'll say about that. It's it's definitely an old school computer RPG. It um, it is, you know, it's it's almost like a sim. It's almost like a simulation, um, because of how intricate a lot of the systems are, how kind of crunchy a lot of the things that you do in the game are. Um, yeah, this game was is been definitely been a bit more than I can chew. Is one way that I could put it. So it came out $70, or yeah, back then, and I was intrigued by it, but I wasn't super into the idea, so I decided to pass on it. But I went ahead and picked it up because it was on sale with some DLC along with it for like $50. That also came with Kingdom Come Deliverance One. So I was like, okay, I'll buy it. I get like a whole bunch of value, and I can try this game. And it ended up being on a lot of people's Game of the Year list. So it's like I feel like I need to give this game a shake. So yeah. Um, so I think How Long to Beat has this game has like the main story at 50 to 60 ish hours somewhere in there. Um, and yeah, it is like I'm 15 hours in this game and I feel like I've barely scratched the surface. There there's a lot of like the game holds your hand or guides you, I guess, for 3 or 4 hours, and then it lets you loose. And when it lets you loose, you are essentially naked in the world, in the middle of a town. And there's more to that, but I won't spoil that part of the story. Um, so you have to go from basically being naked to uh, figuring out like everything that you need to do. There's a lot of wandering around that I did. There's a lot of like mistakes and stuff that I've made. Um, there is a lot of there's just a ton of like they give you objectives and things to do, but then you have to walk a really long ways to get to them, and some of them have been pretty much, I don't know, they're like you like I do objective after objective after objective, and I kind of get to the end and it's like, okay, you're done. And it's like, I guess, the real prize was the journey that I had along the way. Um, it's been very hard to get a foothold in the game. I did a lot of wandering around, and I was able to I finally started to do some of the things that the game had gently encouraged me to do, but didn't say, "Hey, you kind of need to do this first." So I really wish the game had said that. It's like, we're gonna let you do these things, but you really should go here first. Like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I feel like the game doesn't do a great job of of kind of pushing you in the direction, or at least like saying you can have fun, but when you're done, screwing up and you want to move forward, like you really got to go over here, first. Um, so yeah, so I guess I should describe what this game really is. So this game is, if you can't tell
All right.
from what I've already said.
I wanted to jump in real quick.
Okay.
Okay, so a couple different things here. One, so just to answer the question, one of the things you mentioned before, the main game on How Long to Beat is uh, 54 and a half hours for main game. Main and sides is 96.
Okay.
Completionist is 140. So there's that. I most most outlets gave it a rough equivalent of like a 9 out of 10. So I mean, There was a couple other outlets that gave it like quote a 10 out of 10 or a 5 out of 5. But even the mainstream ones like IGN gave it a 9 out of 10. GameSpot gave it a 9 out of 10, 9.5 from Game Informer. So Eurogamer I think is one of the ones that gave it the lowest, which is like a 3 out of 5. But almost everything else is like top marks. So it's very respected and well loved. I think it's a game that doesn't get going until about 30 hours in. And
Have you played it?
yeah, I'm the one who I brought it to your attention because I checked it out from the library like a while ago.
Oh,
But
okay, okay. I forgot you
that's
checked out
why
from the library.
I was warning you about this game beforehand, but you didn't heed my warning because it's not a game you can cram before the end of the year discussions because it is just that much of a. And that was the thing is I was torn between this at the time, and I was stalling between starting this or starting Claire. Um,
Hmm.
and so it's just like I didn't get enough into it to know to really. It's like I can see where some of the humor is. There's a lot of mechanics that are really silly and fun, which I can talk about a little bit later. I mean, just the fact that you can collect arrows by just equipping a shield on your back and then getting outside a fort and then having them shoot arrows at you and just having the shield take up the arrows. And then you're like, I'm collecting arrows now. This is what it's very, it's a game that is way more in depth than you really think it should be. It has a lot of freedom in that case, but at the same time, yeah, I highly recommend watching a lot of start guides. It's the best way
Uh,
for me to like, that's the thing
no.
is it's that in depth, but, so to come into it being like, "Man, who would have thought hiking this mountain would have required a lot of walking? Man, this sucks." Like, that's kinda how I feel like coming in like, if you don't come into this game not knowing what it is, then you're gonna be, like, severely, blindsided, but it's like, for those who know that what it's required, I'm like, this is you go into it looking for this. I had a few friends who were really, really into it when it first came out, and like I said, I just happened to come across it way later at the library, and I was just like, "All right, let me give this a shot." And I'm like, "I see what there is to this. I literally do not have all this time to continue with this." And that's why I bounced off. That's uh, it wasn't a good enough playthrough. I only put like maybe 15, 20 hours into it. It's just like and like I said, I started seeing where it was getting smoother. It was getting, think gameplay was getting better, but at the same time, I was like, I need to play other things for this podcast, and also I am I just can't see myself, if I couldn't finish Metaphor Refantasio, which I really liked,
Hmm.
I'm sure heck not going to finish this one. Which it's like I still liked it, but it wasn't hitting me as hard as it was like certain nostalgia and like synapses as
Like,
Metaphor was for me.
the best way I can describe it is that it's a game that I highly respect, but do not necessarily like. I don't really dislike it. I definitely have some things that I can say about it. That there are definitely some things that maybe they could have shaved off some of the last, I don't know, 20 or 30 hours of the game to make better at the front. Um, for example, the takedown tutorial is really, really, really poorly explained. I tried and tried and tried to do it, and finally I was like, I just it was failing, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm doing what you're telling me to do. So I finally had to look up on Reddit like what I'm doing wrong with it, and somebody was like, okay, so whenever you do a takedown, you obviously grab them behind the back around the neck, and then they will try to struggle and try to kick you away, and it gives you a prompt for that point, and you have to press a certain button. So I was pressing the button, I was doing all different kinds of timing, and I knew I was timing it right. And somebody online was like, so instead of pressing it once, you got to spam that button as many times as you can. And even that wasn't perfectly accurate, but once I started doing that, I started to actually succeed on it. And I tried it 3 or 4 more times, and I was like, okay, um, So I could never get, I mean, up until so far, I have not been able to get takedowns to work properly. So it's just something that I plan to avoid in the game for at least a while or as long as I can because I don't really understand how it works because the tutorial for it, I just I just think the tutorial is really bad. That's probably been the worst thing in the game. But there are other points where I'm just kind of like, okay, I really could use like a little bit more in-depth explanation, a little bit more like so you can practice like easier versions than you'll actually see in the game. You can practice those over here if you want. Um, I could use a lot more of that throughout the game. Obviously, not stuff that you want to get forced into doing or whatever, but there's a lot of systems in this game, and I want to be able to interact with them um, in a competent way. And I feel like there's points that that could be improved.
So this kind of game is reminds me a lot of the 4X genre in the barrier to entry.
Mm,
So it's a lot more heavy set in a lot of certain mechanics. It's not even like certain games you're like, oh yeah, it's easy to play, lifetime to master. I'm like, no, no, no. This one requires you. If it was an old school game, it would come with a rule book or
mm.
like a like in the packaging, and you would be required to read like the book beforehand to really get a good grasp. And so then that's why I relate it to like 4X games, because uh you can pick up and play like Sid Meier's Civilization or whatever, and you can fumble your way through it and eventually figure it out, but it takes you so much longer, and there's a lot of smaller mechanics you got to read about. Or when it comes to like a game like Sins of the Solar Empire or Stellaris, I mean, there's just a lot there. And if you don't have someone that literally telling you what to do, how things work, and being your personal like Wikipedia page to give you your own personalized tutorial, it's really hard to get into some of those games sometimes. I mean, like I said, you can fumble your way through and you can still have fun, but at the same time, it's a game that takes a lot of time before it really picks up. And once it clicks, like those kind of games click, they click, and you get you zone in. But at the same time, it's hard. It's a hard ask for people, but
Yeah,
where like you need to. I feel like this was a type of game that came up a handful of years ago where it was like, no, 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 that's you got to get 20 to 40 hours in said game before it really gets good.
it's probably Kingdom
Uh,
Come Deliverance one.
that is another one, but it's at the same time it has clever enough writing, and it's like it's an interesting world. Uh, but if you also are not into necessarily medieval times frame, then why are you playing this game? It's just
Yeah,
like
yeah, you have, yeah. If you do not like medieval stuff, but I mean, it is pretty
you got to know what
cool.
you're getting into.
Yeah, it is pretty cool that it is a medieval game. I mean, I'm sure all this conversation's been had with Kingdom Come Deliverance one and all the other Kingdom Come games, but it is pretty cool that it is a medieval, not fantasy game. Like it is not. There's no magic in it, as far as I can tell so far. Being a measly 15 hours in, there's no dragons. I think there's mention of goblins, but I think that might be meaning something else. But anyway, so what? So I could be wrong in that, but I was just like, dang, this game is actually really cool, even though it's not like fantasy, at least fantasy forward, at the very least. But yeah, it's it's a wild it's a wild game. I think that the game would not be hurt at all by having a graduated system at the beginning. And I know that's more development time and stuff like that, but really, man, like you could if you could have like a small area that you have to basically earn your way out of that is a microcosm of the grander game, I feel like that would be a lot easier in terms of getting your feet wet and playing with some kind of training wheels to kind of see how you really want to do this. But yeah, like you were saying, or as you were saying, kind of occurred to me that if this game came out in the 90s, or early 2000s, it would have sold a lot of strategy guides. That would be like the ultimate like GameStop bundle is like this game plus a strategy guide for like a discounted like 2% discount price because it would definitely be worth it. Yeah, but yeah, it's a good game. All three of these are actually really great games, very different. And but yeah, like if you only want one game to play for the next year or so, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is probably going to do that for you.
Yeah, and just because I mentioned it with the other ones as well, this is currently on sale. It's 50% off on Steam. You have the base game for 30, the Royal Edition, which seems to come with the expansion pass and a couple other DLC points. That is, or some extra stories and such. Looks like for $40, and you can get like the main game plus the previous and Manor Lords for 50. So there, and then there's like a whole major bundle for like, but like everything's like 50% off. So it's now pretty good time to get into a game that you could just hunker down with, and it'll last you to spring.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. If you're snowed in, yeah. Oh yeah. So there's something else you said in there that made me think of something that I have now forgotten. Okay, never mind. We can go right along.
all right. Well, let's see. All right, that's about it for what we've been playing. But Nick, you just recently saw something new. So what have you been watching?
Yeah, so Netflix came out with another one of these Knives Out movies. I believe the title in full accurate depiction is "Wake Up, Dead Man: A Knives Out Mystery." So I really like these Knives Out movies. They're a bit old school in that they are a just kind of a simple murder mystery. And it's always um, forget the main guy's name, played by
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig, and it's Foghorn Leghorn is the joke they play on, or the joke that they say in the first movie, but um, it's like a French name anyway. Dang it, I can't think of it. Dubois or something. I think that might be it. But anyway, so these
Blanc.
movies,
Benoit. I
Benoit
don't.
Benoit Blanc, Benoit Blanc.
That's how you pronounce. Yeah, okay. Benoit. The T is silent. So Benoit Blanc. But I only saw the first movie. I was not the biggest fan of the first movie. It was okay for what it was, but it did a bad job about being an actual mystery movie, and so I was very disappointed, which never piqued my interest to see. Was it Glass Onion, the
Mhm.
second one? So, and then the fact that they made a third one, I didn't even know the third one was even in production. So someone at work was like, "Yeah, so there's a third one out now," and I'm like, "Was the second any good? Because no one ever I knew ever talked about the second one." So,
So, yeah. So, the first one is a little bit more preachy, which is kind of funny because this third one is literally about a church, and a priest or priests. But yeah, so the first one is a bit more trying to get something, a message across or whatever, and a little bit less about the actual mystery. The second and third ones I feel like have been very much more about the mystery than anything else. Um, I think that the second one, even after seeing this third one, I think the second one is probably my favorite overall. Yeah, I could opine about different reasons I think that, but um, but I'll just talk about this one. So this third one, is about a young priest who has been sent to a church in New York to help the priest there who's getting older, to I forget exactly why they sent him there, but basically to watch him and to kind of see what's going on, kind of what the weirdness is going on at the church, but also to help transition him out of, like basically into old age and take over his church if he wants or whatever. So it starts with that premise, and then they kind of introduce the people at the church. The main priest um, at the new church is played by um, starts with a B, Thanos guy, um, Sicario. Dang it. Uh, anyway, um, man,
Oh, you're talking about Brolin?
Josh Brolin, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, played by Josh Brolin, and and several other people. Um, you'd also recognize Glenn Close is in it, as well as some other character actors and stuff like that. So yeah, a really excellent cast overall. Um, not
Isn't that the hallmark from the series though? Is they get a lot of big name people. It's just like it's almost because that was always the hope of the first one. I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of like the old movie Clue, but it didn't quite pan out as good, and that's kind of where the disappointment lied with me and the mystery. But they get a cast of like who's who and a lot of people, a lot of good talent like across the board. And so, if anything else, you're like, well, it has all these people. There's someone here that you'll at least want to watch. So
Yeah, I think that the reason they do that is number one, just because you like, oh, that person's in it, that person's in it, it's going to get you in the door. Second is that they're not really being asked to do very much for very long. So they're most of them are just saying a couple lines. I mean, several lines spread throughout the movie. So it feels like they're doing more, but they're not really actually in it all that much. So I think as a time commitment, it's not very bad. But then third, I think that a lot of times it's like, well, there's two big time actors in the movie, and one of them is the detective, and the other one is a suspect, along with other suspects. But it's like, I bet that the other biggest actor is going to be the actual killer. So I think they put a lot of extra actors in there to help throw you off because it's like, well, it could be this big actor, it could be that big actor. It just helps with that. But yeah, like I feel like this one, the cast was not really used as efficiently as it was in the second movie. The second movie, there was a lot of red herrings. It was like this person and this person, and they gave good reasons why it could be that person or this person. Whether or not you believed it or whatever was kind of beside the point. It's the fact that they were kind of trying. For this one, that I feel like they didn't really do red herrings at all, at least not very many. They gave some very gentle reasons why somebody might have wanted to commit the murder, but it wasn't really like, but they really could have because of this or whatever. Um, Still, it was a pretty good uh, movie overall. The mystery, I didn't really know how it was going to play out, but I identified who was responsible, I'll say, um, pretty much immediately. A little bit of a guess on my part, but I was correct in the end. So I want to pat myself on the back for that. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing I like about this movie is that it feels like a real movie. It feels like a movie that I would be okay with seeing in the theater and being like, okay, I got my money's worth because I can tell that they were on location. They tried in this way and that way. They had they just there's like a feeling that a movie gets when you can tell that it's trying, and most Netflix movies these days don't really have that kind of done very well. And this, I felt like it did. So yeah, it's on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, you may as well watch it if you're into mysteries at all. And yeah, a long movie, like 2.5 hours or more. So you can kind of get your money's worth, I guess. And Daniel Craig is always fun to drop in on. But I think this is good Ryan Johnson. Ever since he ruined Star Wars, having him be just kind of relegated to this is I'm joking, but these are
Oh, you're
good.
not. You ruined Star Wars. It's fine, or at least it's hard to ruin what already went bad, so it's fine. He didn't help it, put it that way. But yeah, he did apparently all the Knives Out movies, and before Star Wars was Looper, and so Looper was a solid, solid one. But it's just
Looper still gives me nightmares. Um, but yeah, like uh, I think that these are good for him. I don't. I I. It's how do I say this? Sort of his comments and the way that he thinks about Star Wars sort of makes me not want him to ever touch anything that I care about again. Um, but I am glad that he has found this niche in Knives Out, and because he writes them too. I don't know if he gets the only credit for writing them, but he is a writer on these movies, so it seems to be something that he likes to do. He's good at directing it, and I think that honestly, I mean, three is probably enough for any series. But if he wants to keep writing them and keep directing them and keep making them, for the time being, I'm going to keep watching them. I definitely will watch the next one if it comes out, or anything that he does that's fairly similar. So yeah,
I mean, this it's just it's a murder mystery. You just have these forever, like Agatha Christie or like Nancy Drew, any Sherlock Holmes. Just you could just keep on moving that person to the next murder case, and then you wonder, is this person just really unlucky to wind up at the at the dead body, or are they the manifestation?
so
So
the way that they do that, so I think in the first one, it's been so long, but I think in the first one,
they call
he's
them.
they call him. The second one, I think he's always called. I think it's always like, let's get Benoit in here. But in this one for sure, it happens, and then the police do give him a call. But in this one, I'll spoil this part. Like after it happens, um, the priest is praying about it, and he's in the church alone, and he's praying to God, like blah blah. God, please send send someone or come and save me. And basically, like right when he says that, the door of the church opens and it's Benoit, and I'm like, okay, I mean, that's like low hanging fruit, but it's still like a funny it's still a funny, interesting kind of thing to do anyway. But yeah, yeah, it's a pretty good
All
movie.
right. Well, at least it's nice to hear that Netflix is coming out with real movies, I guess, is the best way to put it. So yeah. All right. That's the best I can say about that. All right. I, on the other hand, have went ahead and saw the first episode of Fallout Season 2, and
So did I.
uh yeah, I'm glad we got around to that because it's yeah, I think it's it should hopefully be a good season. My all right, I guess for those who haven't seen Fallout Season 1, we're about to talk about Fallout Season 2. So there's going to be any little talk is going to be spoiler talk. Yeah, that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to try to go overly spoiling it, but you've been warned. Okay. Um, but yeah, Season 2 leaves off where Lucy, main heroine, and the ghoul. I don't think he actually has a set name that they refer to him in. They do in the flashbacks, anyways. I just can't remember what it is.
Yeah, when he was a normal man, they just called him the Ghoul for no one knew why.
Yeah, it's just it's just like you know, it's the his parents just knew it was a fated destiny, right? He
Yeah.
was going to grow into something. Uh, but yeah, it's just after the events of the last story, and they do a decent job just doing a quick recap. I actually thought that was nice and concise. Uh, but yeah, Lucy's running after her dad, which is was like Kyle McLaughlin. So they're chasing after him, and I like the focus for the most part for this episode.
Okay.
The focus is mostly on them, a little bit of their old Vault 33, uh, and almost nothing of Brotherhood of Steel. And I was perfectly fine with that because unfortunately Maximus was the weak point of the last season, and I really
Yeah,
don't.
you hated him, and he's not in this first
I didn't
episode.
really hate him. I just
You
thought that it was
hated
like
him. You hated him.
poorly written, and it was just like, you know what? They it's just a weird, it's just a really weird character the way yeah, it just didn't make a lot of sense.
Okay.
I think they have a lot of neat places to go with as far as the preview goes for the next episode and the rest of the season, but the actual concept of them following out, though, I want to know how much time has passed because it really felt like the last since the end of season one, the dad just escapes and they quickly follow within like at most a couple hours behind. Give them the benefit of doubt, half a day. But the way they're following behind him now feels like they're a couple days behind. Um, because by the time they make it to a new vault, uh, that the dad's already been in and out and continuing on the way. So I'm like, how much?
It's a
Like
little
how?
so yeah, it is a little bit strange there because one of those early scenes, it feels like maybe they're like, 5, 6 hours behind him, maybe, a little more than that. And then toward the end, you kind of go, okay, well, they are actually a little bit further behind than that. So it doesn't tell us how much time has passed. I assume it's been like a week and they have been traveling, trying to catch up with him, but really they're falling further behind because he's in a suit and they're on foot. So maybe there's some speed discrepancy there. That's just kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, but in game, those suits aren't fast. There's a reason why they need the vertibirds, the air to be flown everywhere. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
all right. Take it for what it is. And the flashback sequences are pretty solid overall. I kind of forgot a little bit about what was happening in the vault though, because they showed just I think it was the other person who lost the election the previous like season, and I thought that was the younger brother character. Kind of forgot that he got locked up with the brain.
Yeah.
I'm like I remember there was that instance, but I honestly forgot how that finished. Um, and so I was like, what? It just seemed it was just a really weird, awkwardly put scene. I was like, I have no idea what's going on, but whatever. And then they show the brother later on being locked up with the brain, and I'm like, okay, I kind of remember this now, and I'm more interested about this than what they're currently doing in Vault 33 with the Overseer. They're trying to make it more comic relief to a certain point
Mm.
because the one guy's just stuck babysitting a kid that's not his, and everyone's like, "It's your kid," and he's just like, "It's not my kid." Can I have a real job? Because this, I'm like, but you're watching these kids so good. Like, can you at least give it a name? You know, uh,
He doesn't want to name it Robert Jr. because that's his
dude, that was
dad's
yeah.
that was his dad's name, and she's like, I don't really care, but you got it, blah blah blah. And he's like, Robert Jr. It is. He's just yeah,
She
it's
just
the
stabs, she's like, "Are we arguing?" and stabs a knife in the table, and he's like and he just, like, instantly agrees. The Yeah, so it's like the Vault 33 stuff, it hasn't it's about to get interesting. The things the brother character does, will liven it up. It's like I think it's a strong first episode, and it leaves you with a lot more questions, but at least questions are like things that you wanna know the answers to. Um, though I feel that they've regressed on Lucy's character.
oh yeah.
It's because that's the thing is by the time she ends season 1, she's been more hardened, not hardcore, but she knows how the quote unquote world works, and they start her off, but they dumb her down for comic relief, and they kind of reset it. Like she completely forgot everything, and it's like no, no, and they kind of give it a one liner, being like trying to be like the example or like the change, like the golden rule and trying to live, she wants to live by example kind of deal. And I'm like,
So
yeah, you are literally just like not that far removed from the instance where like a lot of people just got murdered and died, and you've been a part of a lot of things, and you're like, no, no, just mind wiped, just Men in Black. just looked into the light.
So what is going on with that to me? Because I see this in their shows. Is you have a new season and you have a lot of people who are not going to go back and watch the first season. They're just going to hop in, or they're going to be at a watch party, or they're going to be at their friend's house, or whatever, you know. And so that first scene, and really the whole first episode, is half of it is for them, which is why the first scene of this second season is very action heavy, kind of comical, even though it doesn't really make sense for the story itself, and why Lucy is like the golden rule, and I have to be like so, ridiculously good-hearted and pure because they're trying to tell you this is the kind of character that this is, and if we just have her be where she would be in terms of growth from the last season, you won't understand that. And so they have this weird like argument back and forth between her and the ghoul, and like he's like, you need to grow up, girl, and learn how the real world is, and she's like, but my heart is pure. And it's like, okay. So I just sort of, so I don't like that, and I think they can and should do better. But I do kind of compartmentalize that and be like, okay, we got to get this out of the way for all the newbies. After that scene and a couple other scenes, about halfway into the episode, we kind of, have got the mud off the tires and we're rolling. Second episode should be even better, a lot better. But but sometimes they just keep it going, and it's like, okay, so you've just made the character regress. I'm just gonna wait until the second episode before I like reserve full judgment, I guess.
Yeah, that is a key takeaway. It's like if they keep, that kind of will make or break the season for me. Is if they keep her in that mindset until like the very end, because it's like she realizes, oh, my her dad is a monster and is cruel things. Doing, the other thing they really did amp up is kind of part of the gore comedy factor. Kind of relating it back to like the Fallout 3, and New Vegas game style, where you can do VATS and you can, when you do a headshot, the head explodes, and
Yeah.
doing grenades and stuff. So they're really trying to play around with the whole shock and awe of the gore factor, but it's also kind of, it's over the top to be comical, and it's okay. I mean, it hits the game. And when I first saw, I'm like, okay, it kind of fits the game narrative, and I'm all right with that. They did it a bit more. I'm like, okay, uh, they have more budget, I guess, so that's fine. You know, Amazon is seriously pushing all the merch. I just happened to I went ahead and saw something on the store. I looked at it, and then like each character, the main characters have their own little market tab. So you can get merch strictly on the Ghoul, or strictly on Lucy, or strictly on Maximus. And I'm like, no. I don't think anyone really wants to walk away with a like a Fallout shirt with Lucy on it, or like the Ghoul maybe, like Maximus, not too many people, I don't think. It's just those characters aren't memorable like the actual mascot Vault Boy. It's just like it's a weird thing. I think I feel like it's more done for their family than it is for anyone else. Be like, "Hey mom,
It
here's a shirt with me on it. I made it big."
it just feels like a Todd Howard move to be like, yeah, let's just sell everything. Let's just sell it all. I mean, it's a very Bethesda kind of like, we can cartoonize this and then sit and sell it. And Amazon's like, yeah, yeah, let's do that. So I don't really blame them. It's turning into Amazon's flagship show. Kind of came out of nowhere. Well, not totally out of nowhere, but I mean, it was 50-50 on whether the show would even be good or not back when it prior to it first coming out. Once it did start, I think you and I were pretty quickly like, okay, this is at least pretty good. This is at least pretty good, and I think it's good. It's doing what it needs to do now. The only thing they have to really worry about is that they don't um, don't do a parody of themselves where they're like, okay, what would this show do, and kind of go with that. But it seems like they have an idea of where they want to go with it, and there's more mystery to uncover. It looks like this mystery is only going to last. For me, it should only last like, this season and one more, maybe two more if you have like a war or something, which it seems like they might be about to do. Um, but overall, it seems like the show has enough runway to be pretty good and last a couple seasons.
Yeah, I mean, it's considering the fact that I'm not really sure when The Last of Us is going to continue their thing, but it's just like, all right, we can continue at least another company doing another high end, more expensive budget production of a video game franchise adaptation, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because
Uh,
Last of Us really fumbled the ball, So it is best video game adaptation
What
TV
are you
show.
talking about? They won the Video Game Awards Best Adaptation. I mean, granted, they were against the Minecraft movie, so and like Devil May Cry cartoon. Um, so the competition was really stiff, but I,
So all the voters that didn't put a desert eagle in their mouth voted for, yeah. So I think that this show can definitely take the top spot for best video game adaptation TV show on right now, if they play their cards right. But it will,
that new
like, we'll
Street
see how it
Fighter
goes.
movie, man, that's gonna give them a run for their money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll see. There was something that I thought was kind of weird. Like, so Norm McLean, being the younger brother, stuck down in the cryotube chamber with the brain. So he's like sitting there, thirsting to death, starving to death, being taunted by the brain, and he, so he's doesn't like having that stuff, and I don't know how long he's down there, but it seems like he's down there for quite a few number of days before he has the idea to just go and open all of the cryotubes. And I was just kind of like, I feel like this is something I would have thought of, I don't know, after the first 6 hours of being there. I feel like I would have been like, I'm probably going to die in here, so I may as well just start pressing buttons and causing some chaos.
But
That's
and
just a
then
nitpick that I had.
kill everyone else. That's there's because they are gonna wake up to a room full of no water and no food. So I guess you could just eat them. Is that your goal?
It's like may as well, like, maybe we can figure this out together. Maybe we can build like a human centipede up to the ceiling, and in fact, they did show a
You're just,
centipede.
look, you're just looking. You're just always looking for the human centipede answer. So all
Aren't
right.
you?
So there's a the preview to the next episode showing people leaving the vault as an exodus. Uh, so I'm assuming that is a possible way for him to get out with the other people, especially with some more uh, important folks who might know the grander scheme.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, this episode is solid. Overall, it's a solid first entry back into this season. If they continue at this pace, I will be happy. Um,
Yeah, me too.
yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's just. That's it for what I've been watching. And why don't you get to the news? So this is the bit where you pick out what you like this week, and everyone has to just deal with it.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much this whole podcast. Um, but uh, yeah, so not a ton of news, but some pretty good stuff. There's even some stuff that I could have put in, that we could have put in here, and it just didn't quite make it in terms of being, having a good thoughts on. But yeah, so first up, this is coming from IGN. Um, Video games, physical hardware, and software had the worst November since 1995. Um, and it's been a little bit since I read this article, but basically, yeah, the sales of physical hardware and software are are down. So physical software kind of makes sense because that's like, most people don't buy physical games anymore. Everything's, digital and stuff like that. But the hardware aspect is kind of interesting because we have three major systems out right now, plus like Steam Deck and some others like things like that. And it is a launch year for the Nintendo Switch 2. Um, so I think it's probably a little bit more overblown than it is kind of something to worry about. But I thought it'd be interesting to talk about maybe like why we think that that this is happening. Um, I think that prices are difficult for people. Things have kind of been going up, which is been happening for like a little while now. But um, I think that the the Switch 2 coming out so much earlier in the year and being very much available to anybody that wanted to buy it has has made it so that like there was no big need for people to buy that in November or in the fall. Um, and I think that Xbox has really kind of backed away from the console scene in a lot of ways and just really aren't selling that many units. Um, but that and then there's always the economy. The economy, people are it's hard to get an idea of where that really is, but um, it seems like the general consensus is that things are still hard. Um, yeah. So anyway, Joe, where do you stand on all of this? Why do you think that we're having a down year in terms of hardware and software?
I mean, Nintendo has kind of proven that their sales are doing great, even though they came out early in the year. But like, hey, turns out if you make a thing that people want and you have it readily available, people generally buy it. So Nintendo's doing just fine. You're right about Xbox because their lack of real presence and push for real games. I mean, just talking about Fallout, there was a commercial for the for Prime being uh, like this is an Xbox ad, right? Showing everything else, saying this is an Xbox, is this an Xbox? And then they started showing like, is the Pit Boy an Xbox, and are the TV screens? And they're like, no, no, this is Fallout, a Xbox game. I'm like, you're not an Xbox. You are a game that's on the Xbox, but you made it the way you're wording it makes it sound like you're an exclusive, and you are a lying sack of crap. So
Wow,
yeah,
that's yeah.
yeah, it's one of these PlayStation has run its course in a lot of ways. There's a few new games, but at this point, consoles should be dropping in price. They should have already dropped, and therefore should be cheaper than ever, which then incentivize people to buy consoles. Unfortunately, uh, the economy, at least in the U.S., is not doing as great as it should be. Inflation's there. Tariffs are making things more expensive, so people are hurting for the dollar, or like and they can't really spend as freely as they would normally like to be. And that's also why these consoles worldwide are also going up. I mean, consoles are at all time high for as old as these things are, and they're only kind of dropping. Like, yeah, they're technically on sale from the new MSRP. Aren't you happy? Like, no, no, we're not. Um, you're literally jacking up the price 80%, dropping it 90%, and saying, "Look what a deal!" It's just it's kind of that scam, and I think at this point, it's going to take more to move the needle. It's not, but and also people are doom and glooming the console. Oh my goodness, this is it. Consoles are done. That we've heard this time and time again. We've heard this about consoles. We've heard this about PC gaming. Guess what? There, it's going to stick around. It's just going to be more expensive, especially with the AI farms and stuff like that. With components being more expensive, internals are going to be more expensive because they're going to be going like between hard drives and RAM, and unfortunately, that's just the way it's going to be. But I think consoles are going to come back even stronger if things all stay the same or the same high cost trajectory. Consoles will be the more beneficial gaming option for the average consumer because people will just use their older computers for work tasks that isn't like rendering or film editing, but just your everyday computing tasks. Your old computer will do just fine, and it'll be cheaper to buy a console that's a one and done box. And yeah, I just think that's the way the future is going to be if things don't change. I mean, once hopefully uh the prices go down, hopefully things, parts get, more readily available. But if things were to just stay the course as they are now and get more expensive and be harder to find, then yeah, I think a console will be the smarter, more economic choice for a lot of families. Uh and it's not necessarily the best thing to say because like I said, they are going up. They are getting more expensive. Um but that's yeah, you don't raise the price and expect to sell more necessarily.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're just in a really weird spot where nothing new has nothing new is coming out for the fall. Like if Nintendo had to push back to September or October release date, then yeah, this would be a pretty banger November, you know. But since they had released so much earlier, and PS5 Pro is so expensive and came out last year, all this stuff, we're sort of just in a sort of a weird little sweet spot, and people are kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop on the economy as well. But yeah, I think we will have a pretty big November in the coming years. Maybe not quite next November, but definitely by 2027 or 28. It's going to be pretty wild whenever the new consoles and new systems, in whatever form they end up coming out as, once they start releasing. It's going to be pretty crazy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So next up, WB tells shareholders to reject the Paramount offer because there is no Ellison family backstop. So basically, Netflix has made a bid to buy WB, and WB has basically accepted. Paramount is doing a bit of a hostile takeover maneuver, I guess, by offering more, kind of doing it straight to the shareholders, being like, "Hey, if you guys vote, then we can get this done." And I guess the powers that be at WB are saying that Paramount Paramount's offer is less than they're making it look, because they're saying that I forget his first name, but that the Ellison family, um the Ellison family is a group of uh, is a group of billionaires, or the main guy in it is the head of Oracle, I believe, um, and they have tons and tons and tons of money. He's literally one of the. Is it Carrie Ellison? Is that, or is that
Larry
Larry?
Ellison.
Larry Ellison is one of the richest people in the world, and has billions upon billions of dollars. And so there was an idea that Paramount would have him backing their bid with some amount of money, and that appears to not exactly be true. So so um, so I'm not sure of all the specifics of it, but basically WB is like, hang on, it's actually not more money than Netflix is offering, so we still need to go with Netflix. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm really looking forward to seeing how all of this shakes out, but I just thought that would be an interesting little thing to add into the WB purchase update.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big reasons for the whole even bringing the Ellisons in is because it then becomes a political nightmare, legitimately, because the Ellison family is very much in cahoots with Donald Trump, and then to have Donald Trump be, uh, you know, be in bed with the owners of some major networks, for that,
CBS essentially, yeah.
yeah, or CNN,
CNN,
isn't
yeah,
it? So
yeah, WB.
that would change a lot of things, and it's one of those, that's for certain groups, hearing the Ellison name is like, "Hey, that's more reason to double down," and then, others is not, and it becomes a court thing as well, so it's easier to avoid a lot of the lawsuits or potential, hassles if they just go with Netflix.
No, because
Uh,
like the main thing that Paramount had over Netflix is that they like that part of their package was we're the only ones who are actually going to be able to get this job done. Not not like bid or whatever higher bid maybe, but we can get the ink dry on the contracts. Um, the the problem that the Netflix offer presents is that the government is going to want to take a long look at it and see like, hey, is this that is this a monopoly and stuff like that. So they're afraid that regulators are going to come in and be like, yeah, you guys can't do that, and then ixnay the deal, and then we're kind of back to square one. Whereas Paramount's like they're not going to ixnay our deal because we're not as big as Netflix already is. So it's but I do imagine, yeah, if like there's probably plenty of people who are um, against Larry Ellison, which I don't blame them for. There's definitely a lot of reasons to dislike him and the way that he runs things. I've read a lot of stories about that. But yeah, so I guess it's a little bit on both sides now, where it's like they can't get it done, or they're politically connected in a way that we don't want to be.
you can't claim monopoly when you have Disney, okay? Like, Disney owns everything, like, that's the argument of a monopoly when you're like, "Well, just look at Disney there," and you're just like, "Are we bigger than them? Do we have more of a share than them? No? Then we're not a monopoly." That's
Yeah,
kind of the easiest get out, but anyways, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this unfolds, but at the same time, it just needs to stop. It's just like one of those things that it's a nightmare unfolding in slow motion. So
yeah. It's if the government would do anything in terms of like actually breaking up any of these companies, I would have a lot more confidence, because I do think that there are many companies that need to be broken up. Uh, Basically, all the blue chip stocks that you can think of need to be broken up. So them kind of getting together even more is really not something that I want, but at the very least, I want the overlords to all be more or less the equal power. I don't want the power of balance, or the balance of power, to get out of whack too much, or else we'll all be uh, the worst for it. But anyway, so next up, Battlefield is now likely to outsell Call of Duty Black Ops 7. So this is uh, something that I find kind of interesting, because Call of Duty has been kind of the king of this space for quite a while now, and it did feel like it was an empire that could never really fall. But they have been rather hubristic in the past couple years, and I think it was really smart of EA to launch Battlefield in what is this Battlefield 6. I think it was really smart of them to launch Battlefield 6 this year, in the year that there was going to be a Black Ops game, because Black Ops, um, as far as I understand it, is kind of the weakest of the Call of Duty franchise. Uh, and it was smart of them to be like, okay, we're going to go in the year whenever Call of Duty is weakest, and they've already kind of had some maybe overly prideful moments, and they've made some blunders here and there. And we're going to take the top spot from them because we have a really good game, and we're gonna do all that stuff. So yeah, it seems like it's worked, and I think it'll be a really good thing for Call of Duty, because it's a bit of a wake up call. Like, hey, you guys can be beat, and that's what I want to see from the industry.
yeah, it does. Black Ops is usually a fun storyline, but this year in particular has been knocked for being like a short campaign. A little bit of repetitiveness, and yeah, they did that. They've done this before from time to time again, where our Call of Duty will occasionally fumble with a story. and they need a campaign. I mean, that's the only reason why I play. But at the same time, it's just like they are going all into their war zone. They try to use the new game as a map refresh and to add new content, but it's without an actual cohesive story, something to really get you through it, to wanna pick up like, why wouldn't you just stick with the old copy of the thing? It's like there's yeah, it is. They'll have to take a good hard look at how they wanna do things, but Microsoft is Microsoft, and they paid a lot of money for Call of Duty. So,
Mm.
they're gonna run it into the ground, and, doesn't matter how it plans out. I don't They're not gonna take I would really surprised if they take a year off. They're just gonna have just yell at the other team to do better, and then, yeah.
Well, I mean, you have a lot of layoffs over the past several years at Microsoft, and whenever Activision and Blizzard came in, you had a lot of layoffs at Microsoft, which sounded like it was probably a lot of restructuring of those corporations and stuff. Um, so yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there is you know like Microsoft didn't buy Activision to make less money. And Microsoft didn't buy Activision for Activision to make less money. So there's, especially now, there's probably going to be a lot more pressure for Call of Duty to perform, and um, I'm curious to see how they're going to bounce back, because in times like this, it's very easy to have a company kind of fold, or have the pressure kind of get to the people, the managers, the higher ups, who then put too much pressure on the people down underneath them. So next year, if they do take a year off, that might be for the best. Um, but whatever they come out with, either next year or the year after, or whenever they come out with something, um, I think it'll probably I think it'll probably be better. If they do go ahead and launch something again next year, it will probably not be better. It'll probably be worse, and there will probably be a lot more hand wringing between now and then that will cause it to be kind of a strangle the goose that laid the golden egg sort of scenario. But yeah, I like competition. I really don't care for COD to be the absolute undisputed king with nobody even nearby. I like that, even though I don't really care for EA, I like that somebody is there to challenge, and it seems like that is what's going on.
I mean, it helps with, EA having their financial backings where they come from. So it's just like they got enough people putting heavy money into the, ownership. But I mean, it's you don't really play any of those games anyways. The I generally like
Yeah, I want to watch them both burn.
I prefer, like I said, I like a good stupid Call of Duty campaign. They're and when it comes to Battlefield, I haven't liked a Battlefield since Bad Company 2.
Yeah.
So, uh, but then again, as far as playing online goes, I mean, I know a lot of people who really seem to like Battlefield. Uh, hey, if it's a good game, it's a good game, and at least it's being recognized, and that's what's important. So I guess that's the key takeaway, and maybe this will give Call of Duty a wake up call to do better, and hopefully try to do some innovations, not just rehash the same stuff.
Yeah, wake up Call of Duty. Um, all right, so next up, it's a little bit out of the video game landscape, but I thought it was interesting at least. The Oscars, the Academy Awards, are moving to YouTube in 2029. Um, I think that's probably a very good move overall. Nobody really watches the Oscars anymore. I think they have had some higher ratings in recent years than prior or something like that. But um, to me, honestly, I look at this as a Game Awards, sort of showing the Oscars how it's done. The Game Awards, I don't know if we've talked about this on this podcast or even privately, but um, I saw a video from Penguin Zero where people were throwing around that the Game Awards had a higher rating than the Super Bowl. Um,
Yeah, Jeff Keighley made that statement about last year's, video game awards, and then there was other numbers touting that there was a huge viewership for this current year's, video game awards as well, so, yeah.
yeah, so like the Super Bowl is an American thing, you know, so it's got a gigantic number in America, and you know, and that's crazy and amazing and all that stuff. So the Game Awards is a much more of a worldwide thing because the games that it talks about are, you know, from all over the world and stuff like that. So it's a little bit apples to oranges, but for something like the Game Awards, you know, from where it started and where it's, you know, how far it's come is it's pretty amazing. And I think that the Oscars, I mean, they have to be looking at that. They have to be like, well, it's the same thing, but with video games instead of movies. Um, and they're doing gangbusters on YouTube. They're, you know,
It's an
getting,
investor call is what it is it's to slap them in the face and be like, "Hey, we're making all this ad revenue." It's just like and especially with, Oscars being the old men in the suits being like, this is we're the legacy show here, and yet this new up and coming thing is polling better numbers, getting more ad revenue than we are. We need to get in, like we now need to change. So it's better late than never. So
it's a good move, I think, but I do, you know, but and it is better late than never. I do wonder if it's going to be a day late and a dollar short, though, because the like we talked about prior, you know, the Game Awards, the awards are like half or maybe even less of like the reason why most people tune in. Uh, a big reason why people tune in is the new game announcements, and all the stuff that you see from that. You know the Oscars. I don't really know how much the Oscars are going to make off of new movie trailers if they even do that. And if it's like just the awards and it's like on the internet, it's like I don't really. I mean, it's a nice sentiment, but it's a little bit. I just don't know how well it's going to compare.
yeah, the um people have been arguing the Oscars have been dying out for a very long time now. It's which makes sense. The Oscars used to be a closed door event. Then that was kind of the mystique behind it. It's like it was a show for the people in the industry. Is by them for them,
Mhm.
and they could act silly and act a fool, and it's mostly behind that. And then it was a glitz and glamour because everyone else, normal, civilians would be able to look into it and be like, shock and awe, just the wonderment of the glitz and glamour. It's
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, this is great. This like your favorite actors or actresses.
The red
Look
carpet experience. Yeah.
yeah, and so as it's gotten more and more mainstream, it's kind of lost its pizzazz, and that's why you have other networks, other shows, trying to spice up their interview content. I forget, was it one of the night shows? Does the guy who just gives shots to the actresses and actresses? I can't
Oh
remember.
wow.
Yeah, it's a whole bit that he's been doing for years. I only caught wind of it like last year, the year before, where they had like a fake like Oscar statue or something like that, and they ripped off the head, and it was like a flask. Uh,
That's
and
pretty good.
like different way yeah, but it's an ongoing joke, so, like, when the celebrities see that person, they're like, "Oh, it's you," and, like, they're there because they're there to have a drink, and it's supposed to be, like, a casual time, not a serious interview, not supposed to be anything, so that's one way of getting people to see, their stars let down their guard, as it were, and be more human, but honestly, there's not a whole lot like, people have been kinda complaining about the Oscars being rigged or, political more than anything lately,
Yeah.
and it's I don't yeah, I think you're right, it might be a day late and a dollar short, but anything to inject a little life into it, but it does feel like an E3 situation where, like, yeah, we're just waiting for that nail in the coffin or to just you know what? You do the Hollywood does this to movies all the time. reboot the Oscars. There you go. Just
Reboot,
straight up from the ground up, just,
reboot movies.
retitle it The Oscars, it's like, and then it could go from there. I mean,
Yeah,
make it into its own little thing. Uh, how to change that? I don't know. They don't pay me, so I don't care. But that's the only way they can really save it is if they actually rebrand it, redo it, uh but what's gonna happen is it's gonna fall apart, and then something like, I don't know, the Cannes Film Festival is gonna take over, become more mainstream or something like that, It's like because what
yeah,
PAX gets more or PAX or Comic-Con is more important to the film industry than anything else at this point, where they can like, "Hey, you wanna need that new trailer," and that's been their jumping ground for anything, remotely nerd, like, related for movies, sci-fi, like, that's where we go if we want to see good trailers.
right, right. Yeah, yeah. It'll get worse and then it'll get better. It'll shift around. This is part of that. That's this YouTube jump. But it won't be till 2029, so it's still like 4 years away. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll see how
Plenty of
it
time to crash,
goes. I'm sorry, what?
plenty of time to crash and burn.
Plenty of time to crash and burn. That's what my dad always says about my life. Okay, next up, we talked about this a few weeks ago. There's a game that got banned from Steam called Horses, um, and it was not able to release on Steam. It was able to release on several of the other platforms, and it seems that the game Horses it sold 18,000 copies in the 2 weeks that it's been released, but they're saying that that is not enough for it to for the developers to make a second game. So yeah, it's a bit of a sadder situation, I guess. But you know, it's it's sort of it's just something that I wanted to follow up on, and I don't really know the full extent of it, but it seems a little bit like a kind of a miscommunication or maybe a misprocess by one or both parties. And it's just kind of like, yeah, you hate to see that, but I have a feeling that with all of this publicity, that the developer will be able to get something together and make something else, but it remains to be seen.
Yep. Uh, I mean, I really didn't have a horse in the race. I hate to say it, but I did. Um, I
Damn you,
thought it.
Joe.
I hated
Damn
it all the way
you.
through.
Sorry, what did you say?
No, that's all good. We're good.
Okay, we can just let that be garbled. All right. Finally, on a more even more serious note, Rob Reiner and his wife have passed away. This is getting to be a bit older news now, but uh, they were found dead in an apparent murder. Um, they're there is a suspect. I believe that this person is even somebody that they have that they've arrested. I could be wrong about that, but there's a serious suspect. I have heard other people kind of say that it was that there's a that like who it is. I don't want to do that on the on this podcast, but pretty wild and sort of and kind of crazy serious thing. But yeah, so Rob Reiner, if you are not too familiar with his movies, because he's made quite a few movies. He was a director and a little bit of an actor in Hollywood for a long time. The only one I can remember off the top of my head is When Harry Met Sally. He was a director for that. That was a pretty big, I don't know, kind of a game changer of a movie back in the '90s. He was in as an actor. He was in a show called All in the Family, I believe. Um, and
Uh, his other big ones are like This Is Spinal Tap
oh right,
and
yeah,
Princess Bride, which most
huge,
people are.
yeah.
That was like that was their big one. So I, Rob Reiner also did like Stand by Me.
Stand by Me, yeah.
Um,
He
So
just did Spinal Tap 2. He did Misery, A Few Good Men, and did he was not. He must have been in The Wolf of Wall Street because he didn't do that. Maybe he's in some of these movies that I'm looking at.
he is an actor.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
an actor
I gotta be careful.
late late into the career. So it's not like stopped acting. And the yeah, it's a sudden sudden loss. It's pretty tragic, especially due to the severity of in which they passed. And yeah, it's just someone who was influential to to a lot of people's childhoods growing up. I mean, Spinal Tap forever will be the marker in my brain to where I learned feet and inches symbols while writing. But the a lot of great quotes from the early movies. Harry Met Sally. Famously, "I'll have what she's having," which is a line done by his mother, because his mother was that character, and he just had her in the diner, and
Yeah.
it's just, so it's yeah. Like I said, Princess Bride. I have so many friends who grew up with that movie,
Oh man,
and
that movie is required reading, required viewing.
yeah, I unfortunately saw it way late in life, so I'm like, I see why people like it, but because I didn't grow up with it, I just can't it just didn't click with me. I'm like, I admit it's really good but because I didn't grow up watching it and, like, repeating the lines with everyone else, I'm like, "Okay, I see the lines that you're saying, and I know the thing is from that," but it just wasn't there with me as hard. Um, but I mean, Stand By Me was still, like, one of my favorites. Misery was also
Yeah,
Misery is just it's an absolute phenomenal, movie.
yeah.
Uh
He also did The American President, which is a pretty good little like movie. I guess like it's a romance movie, but it holds up. It's a good watch, I think.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate loss for all of film, but also just hearts and thoughts and prayers go out with the family. So hopefully the matter gets resolved quickly, and that's pretty much all we can ask for at this point.
Yeah, yeah. That's also what I hope for.
All right. Well, that is going to be it for today's episode. If you made it to the end, we appreciate it. This has been ADB episode 157. Nick, what are some holiday words of wisdom you have for the people out there?
Um, I would not set any traps for Santa. Um, he's seen them all, and the reason why you never hear about people talking about the traps that they laid for Santa is because they are the ones who don't survive. So
All right.
just keep that in mind.
All right. And just remember, certain parts of the world, grandma might have to be careful for the reindeer, but in Nick's part of the world, she just has to worry about those John Deeres. So, all
Yeah.
right, guys. Until next time, this is ADP. Y'all take it easy.
Bye.